To the learning of computer networks and security. We are going to start with the module 5, that is multimedia networking. We have an interesting and important concept here in multimedia streaming technique, that is content distribution network. In my previous video, you would have seen a concept at the end. So I was trying to say there, the server should be closer to the client so that the client will not experience any delay while receiving the requested video file. So what is the meaning of server close to the client? It should be something like the client should be located, geographically located closer to the server. So whenever a client is requesting for some video, his request should be redirected to the closest server which is geographically located closer to client. So that server, it will be easy for the bytes, or it will take very less time for the bytes, for the server to send the bytes response. It takes very less time for the server to respond with the requested file back to the client. So this actually is possible because of this content distribution network. So we'll see what is this content distribution network. So you can just see here, the name itself is content. Content is nothing but here the video files which is located in the server. So we have a network of such server where the contents or where the video files are stored. So network of such servers we have. So what is that network of such servers? So before we move on to that, we'll just see some of the drawbacks here. See, if I have a server which is located in a very far away place, for example, if I have a client who is located in Mangalore, and if the server is located in the north, that is maybe in the Delhi, so it takes a lot of time for the contents to travel all the way from the server located in Delhi to the client who is located in Mangalore, geographically located, right? So they are very far from each other. So because of which client may experience a lot of delay. And if suppose we have only one server to entire India, definitely we know there are millions of clients who are located in India. All these requests, if it is sent to a single server, definitely this single server will be burdened with all these requests, and there are high chances of server getting crashed. And what if the single server gets crashed? All the clients throughout India cannot access the videos. So that is the major drawback of a single server having single point of contact. And there is a major drawback. This is a major drawback for the client experiencing a delay also, right? And also, moreover, we cannot have millions of server clients for a single server. You cannot have, you cannot scale there. Scaling is you cannot add too many clients for a single server. Definitely it will burden a single server. So how to overcome this drawback? So what we can do over here? Is we have a server, actual server. Let me call this as original server, and let me call this as YouTube server or something. And I have a client who is located somewhere in Mangalore. Okay, user or a client who is located in Mangalore, and the original server, YouTube server, may be somewhere in US. Okay, the original YouTube server is in US. Okay, so now our client who is in Mangalore cannot send the request to the YouTube server which is located in US. Definitely it will take a lot of time to send the request there itself. So instead, what can be done from the server end? So server can duplicate itself and have multiple such duplicate servers, dummy servers, right? So here the organization who is owning YouTube, it is Google who is owning the YouTube. So here YouTube owner, that is Google itself, can have replicated servers, YouTube servers. So what do you mean by replicated servers? All these servers will have the duplicate contents, same set of video files. Okay, and these duplicate servers can be distributed all over the world. Definitely. So here we can have some set of servers, duplicate servers, which is allocated for India depending upon the users who is accessing YouTube. If there are more number of YouTube users in India, definitely we require more number of replicated servers for India. Again, in India we have several cities there. So if there are more number of YouTube users in Bangalore, definitely we require more servers for Bangalore again in India. So more replicated servers depending upon the accessibility we can have distributed throughout the globe. So this is something like, you call it as content distribution network. You distribute the contents, you distribute the video, that is replicated videos throughout all over the country, and you can call them as clusters. You can call them as clusters. So here we have, say, suppose a single cluster which is located in India, and this single cluster is nothing but group of CDN servers. So all these CDN servers that we have, they are all replicas. So they all have the duplicated video contents stored in these servers. So here it is a single cluster. So whenever a user who wants to you cannot call it as a single cluster, you can have multiple such clusters located in India. Suppose if I have a client who is located in Mangalore, wants to send a request to the YouTube server, he wants to watch some YouTube video. In that case, his request will be redirected to, should be redirected to closest CDN cluster. There might be multiple CDN clusters, group of CDN servers available in India. So the client who is located in Mangalore, his video request should be sent to the closest CDN cluster. Right? So once it is sent to the closest CDN cluster, so from there his request will be redirected to one of the CDN server there, who is again closer to the client. Okay, so one of the CDN server, so that CDN server will start sending the requested file to the client on behalf of actual YouTube server. Okay, so all this, whatever is happening in between, client will never get to know. So or client will never experience any delay also there. So all that what client is feeling, that he is getting the video from the actual YouTube server. Okay, so this is actually the concept of CDN. We'll see this in in detail. You can just see here the CDN server, how exactly the request is sent and how the reply is obtained from the remote CDN server. So this is quite similar to our DNS concept. Okay, so here DNS servers also we require a lot in between, and I hope you all remember the query that is posted to local DNS server, then root DNS server, then TLD, then authoritative, and then it reaches the actual server. So I hope you all remember the DNS query reply concept, and also I hope you remember the purpose of this DNS. The purpose of DNS is translating the host name to IP address. So whenever I want to access any website, I require first the IP address of that particular server, right? So here, let us recall that concept and use that concept over here. Okay, first, I have a client who is located, say, maybe in Mangalore, and he wants to watch one video. So what is he doing? He's first visiting the website. Say, suppose he's visiting the website Netflix. Okay, he is visiting Net Cinemas. Okay, website of Net Cinemas. So first he is now requesting, he is typing the URL www.netcinema.com. So his request will be sent to the, as a HTTP request, it should be sent to the remote server. So from there, what is he expecting? The website or the web page of, or the home page of netcinema.com. So that is the first step, where his request is sent to netcinema.com server. So with the help of the URL, and then his reply, he's going to get the, he should get the what is it? The website or the web page, right? Okay. So actually there, is he getting directly the web page from this remote server? Or do we actually have to there get this particular IP address first? Yes, that is the first step. All that client knows is just the host name of netcinema.com. So first he should, in order to obtain the web page of netcinema.com, he is simply typing the URL as netcinema.com, and now he is expecting the IP address of this netcinema.com server. So assume that client already knows the IP address of the server netcinema.com from where he is supposed to get the web page. Assume this step, okay? So now he knows the IP address from which he has contacted directly the netcinema server, from where he has downloaded the web page also. Now the home page is giving him the list of videos available in netcinema, and out of that he has now clicked on a particular link. Okay, that particular link, which video he wants to watch. And now his request, the moment he clicks on the video, his request is redirected to the local DNS server. Why? Because now he wants to download that video, he wants to watch that video. So that request of video should be sent to the remote server. Which server? netcinema server. But now, in order to download that video, the request is not directly sent to netcinema server. Instead, his request should be now redirected to one of the closest CDN server. So what is CDN server there? CDN server is the one which actually contains the duplicate. It is the replica of this actual netcinema server. So our CDN server acts on behalf of original netcinema server, and the contents what our CDN server has, it is same as the contents that our original server has. And now here let's assume that the CDN for netcinema.com is called King CDN server. King CDN is the private party who is, or you can call this as a private property, private server of netcinema. netcinema is owning King CDN server. Okay, King CDN servers. This is a private one. You can also have a public one. What is the meaning of public? So there might be some third party who is working for netcinema.com. In that case, those third party CDN servers are not, for them, these netcinema is not the owner. They are the separate third party people. They are just working for netcinema.com. But here King CDN, let's call him as private property of netcinema. This netcinema is itself, they are only owning this CDN servers. Okay, right. So now this King CDN is located throughout the world, you can say. Yeah. Now the request is, the moment user clicks on the particular video link, the request is redirected to local DNS server. Local is nearer to client. Once the DNS server, local DNS server receives this request in the form of a URL there, so he's just redirecting that request, or the host name what the request contains, it will be redirected to netcinema's authoritative DNS server. You can now see that link what the user has clicked will have a word, usually it is a video, right? So it will have a word called video there in the link, right? Now this local DNS server will just check that host name, and that host name will be directly redirected to the netcinema authoritative DNS server. So authoritative DNS server, once he gets this host name, so again in that host name it will check for that last part. What is that? Video. The moment he sees that video part in that host name, he will come to know, authoritative server will come to know that the user is not wanting the IP address now here. He is, all that he wants that now to download this video, right? So for that, what this authoritative DNS server does, instead of simply replying the IP address, he will just redirect the what is that? It's the authoritative DNS server of CDN. He will just give you the link. This netcinema authoritative server will give you the link for CDN, that is King CDN, who is owned by netcinema. So that King CDN's authoritative DNS server's address will be provided by netcinema. So here netcinema authoritative DNS server will not give his own original server's address. Instead, he will just give you the address or the link of authoritative server of King CDN, which is owned by netcinema. So all that he is doing just by checking the host name which contains this video part. Now as a fourth step, local DNS server receives that link, and through that address he is now redirecting directly to the request is sent to the King CDN now. So anymore King netcinema's chapter is closed anymore. Now you have moved on to King CDN, that is the private property owned by netcinema. So this is a replica. So CDN authoritative server now actually contains the address or the address of what? Actual King CDN server where the content is residing, where the requested video file is residing. So address of that King CDN server is available here in authoritative server. That will be sent back to local DNS server. Once the local DNS server gets the address of actual King CDN server where the actual file is residing, video file is residing, that will be redirected to the requested client. Now with the help of that address, client will be able to establish TCP connection between King CDN server where the content is residing, where the requested video file is residing, and from there the download begins. The client can watch the video online or download the video and do whatever he wants. So the closest King CDN server's address should be provided by this King CDN authoritative server. It is the job of King CDN authoritative server to give the closest address, or in other words you can say it is the NetCinema authoritative server's responsibility to choose the closest King CDN authoritative server's address. Right? So the closest address should be provided by NetCinema itself. So the cluster, closest cluster should be linked by King CDN authoritative server. So one who is closer to this client. There might be many clusters available. So closest clusters link should be provided by King CDN authoritative server. Thereby client can directly communicate with that closest King CDN server. So this is how the the download of video file begins. This is how the client is able to watch the videos from the closest server without any delay. So here I hope you all know this about this DNS concept as well. So here DNS also will come into picture. Why? Because there should be a redirection from the original NetCinema server to the private King CDN server. Okay, I hope this is clear. You can just see this with the help of a live example. Here there is a client who is Bob, and here he is requesting for a video called NetCinema from the netcinema.com, and that video link is over here. Okay, and you can just see this is the actual link what the video Bob is clicking, on his screen. You can see how the request is redirected. You have here the original server netcinema.com. You have the authoritative DNS server belonging to NetCinema, and you have the private property owned by NetCinema called King CDN. This is the this is the actual server, content distribution server where the video file is residing now. You have the authoritative King CDN server who will give you the address of this King CDN server, and this is our local server, local DNS server what we have. So I hope you all know this. Yeah, so local DNS server is here, right? So first netcinema.com, directly he is downloading the web page of NetCinema, and thereby he is clicking onto the link of a particular video that he wants to look for. What is that video? This is the link he is clicking on, and that request will be redirected to local DNS server. Second step. Third step is it should be redirected to the NetCinema's authoritative DNS server, wherein he will give you the link of King CDN's authoritative DNS server. So there on King CDN will be contacted, and then King CDN server will give you the address of actual King CDN, closest to King CDN cluster, which is closer to Bob. So Bob will get now the address in fifth step, address of closest to King CDN cluster. So thereby now Bob can develop the TCP connection between the King CDN server, and he can download the video or watch that requested video. Okay, so this is the live example of CDN. So like I already said, the cluster selection strategy. So we have the cluster which has to be selected. The good CDN cluster has to be chosen. Good CDN node is nothing but the closest CDN cluster. So geographically multiple CDN servers are located. So geographically closest, that means which is the nearest server to the client based on the shortest path calculation, minimum hop calculation, the closest cluster can be chosen. Okay, so based on that closest shortest path calculation, the best CDN server can be chosen. Okay, so YouTube, remember, they have their own private CDNs. They don't have any third party CDNs. You have actually one of the technique to choose the closest CDN cluster, that is IP anycast method. So here you can see anycast method You just have to recall some BGP concept what we had seen, autonomous system concept what you had seen, right? So you all can see here, there is something, suppose here I have one of the autonomous system, say AS1, AS2, AS3, AS4. There are 4 autonomous systems, and here we have, suppose one of the client, one who is located here in AS2 wants to watch a video file. Okay, so in that case, his request will be redirected. His video file should be, he wants to watch. Say suppose one of the user here wants to watch. So his video file should be redirected to what? His request containing the hostname of video file should be redirected to the closest CDN server, right? So you can see here there are 2 CDN servers, CDN server B and CDN server A. Both are duplicates, both are replicas. And you know that one of the CDN server is attached to AS3 and one more CDN server B is attached to AS1. Now the user or client is located here in AS2. His request should be redirected to which CDN server? Is it the CDN server B or A? So definitely one which is closer. So closer one is CDN server B. So he should be downloading now from CDN server B. So here how the request is redirected to CDN server B? It is now here we have through the border gateway protocol. So first here the client should be knowing where the CDN servers are available, to which autonomous system it is available. So how he will come to know? So here we have a border router 2A which knows clearly about AS1 and AS4. Why? Because both are neighbors. AS1 and AS4 are neighbors of AS2. So border router 2A will get this information from border router 1B. All the information about AS1 will be obtained from 1B. So it will be redirected to 2A. And this communication is happening through BGP. So you call this as BGP advertisement. So BGP advertisement means what? 1B will advertise about all the servers or maybe about all the subnets that is attached in AS1. So definitely 1B will tell about CDN server which is attached to 1D, and through intra-AS routing protocol that information, reachability information will reach this 1B, and through BGP, that is border gateway protocol, this advertisement will reach 2A. 2A, that's how we'll come to know that CDN server B is attached to AS1 or it is attached to 1D. Similarly, AS4 through 4C router, it will give the reachability information to 2A, right? So 2A at the same time you also have here, see, border router 1A which will get the information belonging to AS1 will get the information from AS3, that is about 3A is a border router in AS3 which will give you the reachability information about content distribution network server A attached to 3B through intra-AS routing protocol, maybe RIP or OSPF. Through that shortest path calculation is happening, and through that the information is reaching 3A, and router 3A thereby shares the information to 1A border router through BGP, and then it is also shared with 4A through BGP, and 1A through intra-AS routing protocol RIP or OSPF, it will share the information to 1B, and thereby 1B will pass on that information also to AS2. So now router 2A gets 2 information, routing table of AS3, it also gets the forwarding table or routing table of AS1. All that reachability information reaches to A. Now with the help of this, the closest CDN server also can be found through next hop. So through next hop or through AS path, whatever we have, it can finally find the closest cluster. AS1 to AS2 is the AS path through which closer path can be found. Next AS2, AS1, AS3, AS1, AS2 is one more path, or AS3, AS4, AS2 is one more path to reach CDN server A. So among these 2 paths, the closest path is AS1, AS2, through which it can find the shortest path to reach the closest CDN server, and that's how IP anycast technique works here to choose closest CDN cluster.